on KBF 88.3 FM. I'm your host of the workplace, Tony Orr, and as always, my beautiful, vivacious, fierce co-host is in the studio, Denise Donnell. How you doing this morning, Denise?
Good morning, Grand Rising, good people.
Yes. Oh, like I said, I hope everybody's having a great Thursday morning. Hope you're having a great week. Got a lot of things we want to talk about today. First of all, just got some announcements I want to get out in Players people on 100,000 80 72206. You can also call 501-372-6119 and give your pledge a donation that way. You can also go on button. And as you member of KABF, your monthly contribution will go to the sustainability of KABF 88.3 FM. Or if you just out and about, want to just stop by the studio, you can come by and you can give your donation that way. That address, once again, is 2101 South Main Street here in Little Rock, Arkansas, 72206. And as you come in, as you tour the studio, and we'll make sure that to show our appreciation of you coming by the studio, the station, we will make sure that you won't be empty-handed. We'll make sure that you have a gift or something, a hat, a t-shirt, coffee mug, an album or CD, something to show our appreciation. Just want to thank him. Just want to thank all of you for listening. Thank all of you for tuning in. Thank you all for supporting KBF. Also, if you have a business, you're an entrepreneur, or you just want to have some information that you want to get out, some thoughts you want to get out, you can do our Fire Watch. And we run this premium doing Players Drive. For $150, you get 20 60-second spots. For $120, you get 20 minutes of airtime for your business, for your, like I said, if you have any thoughts about certain issues that you want to express, we give you that opportunity. $150 for 20 60-second spots. Also, I'm going to do a little change up. For those of you who have KBF 88.3 FM t-shirts, and normally what we've been doing in the past is have black t-shirts. So I'm in the process of kind of reversing it. I'm going to try a new color, gold, yellow. I said gold, but it may, it's probably yellow. That's part of the color that if you have the black t-shirt with KBF, it's a yellow. The wording and the lettering on the t-shirt is yellow. So now we're going to reverse it with the yellow t-shirt as a background and the letters in black. So we're just going to see how that works out. But I thought it would be nice just to change it up, and it may be something that we're looking at in the future of just having a variety of colors for KBF to offer as merchandise. So just something to think about. Before I get to the my announcements, I'm gonna give my co-host Denise an opportunity to greet you, and if there's any announcements she has to give.
Good morning again. Thank you so much, Tony. I appreciate this time with the listeners. Those of you who are watching via Facebook, YouTube, something's happening with the camera. I am working on it right now. I hope to get it up soon, but you should be able to see Tony present in the space. So thank you so much for your patience as I continue to troubleshoot this. Do have one announcement that I'd like to make. Want to make sure that you are reminded that the Black Love Event 3 is happening on July 8th. That's a Saturday at 7 o'clock. We will continue this series talking about Black love at the intersection of the system of white inhumanity. We have had this event and from the voices primarily of women and also from Black men, and now we are asking both of them to be on the stage, and we are going to include those people who do not consider themselves to be male or female, but are gender non-conforming, gender non-binary. So this is a conversation that I am excited about. I cannot wait to see how it unfolds, and I cannot wait to see how it's challenged in this space, these ideas that we have around gender and the system of white inhumanity, and Blackness. So that is July 8th at 7 o'clock at the New Deal Studio, 2003 Louisiana Street, Little Rock, Arkansas, 72206. I cannot wait for this event.
Okay. And so just have a couple of announcements this morning. First announcement is that it's on Domino's in the Park. Last week we started at 4, but from this Friday going forward, we're going to start at 5 o'clock. We're going to go from 5 to 7 o'clock. Those are the times. But as always, if the game or the conversation is flowing, we will always extend that time to accommodate what's going on. But the main thing is that we're not starting at 4 o'clock. We're starting at 5 o'clock to give everybody the opportunity that want to participate, give them a chance to get off of work, and get over to Petaway Park on 21st. On 21st Street, in between Rock and Bragg.
In between Rock and Park.
Rock and Park. I get those streets mixed up. Commerce, Park, and Bragg. I know they run. They run together. In order. I just missed the order that they run in. So, 21st Street, Petaway Park. Also, Jericho Wave Resource Center is celebrating its 10 years of service. 10 years of service. And they're going to have an event at the Cathedral of St. Andrew on Sunday, June 4th, from 3 to 5 p.m. And that special guest includes Chuck. I've been trying to, before I came on the air, trying to say this name. Maybe you can help me, Denise. Lebesque.
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 That's what it sounds like.
Okay. Chuck Lebesque, DePaul, USA,
Lebesque.
CEO. Kathy Webb, Little Rock Vice Mayor, and Mark Stodola, former Little Rock Mayor. And if you want to reserve for a spot at the event, or you want to just know more information, call 501-916-9859. That's 501-916-9859. So, what I want to talk about today is the topic for the day is child labor, the new child labor laws. For those of you who may remember one of the laws, there's so many different laws that were changed or passed during this last legislative session, and one of them was they rolled back the protections of children working, minors under the age of 16. So basically 14 and 15. I think they kept in place that you had to be at least 14 to have a job to work in the state of Arkansas. But of course, when you start talking about these rules and these regulations, there are going to be some people. These rules and regulations, and so and states across the country are doing the same thing, and so they're doing it under the guise that because there are so many jobs available, everywhere you look, people are hiring. I was in Dollar Tree yesterday, and they had a sign-in sheet, and said, "Hey, we're hiring. We're gonna have this hiring day, and we want you to come. And we want you to see, if you can be employed by the Dollar Tree." But like I said, if you look around, there's all these different signs looking for employment. And so, to me, I'll put that. Phone lines are open 501 433 0088, 501 433 0088. So you have all these places trying to hire. And so now you have rolled back these protections. These protections were put in place not so that children will not be exploited, that children will not be subjected to different work environments and different things like that, that they will have some type of recourse in case that they will be in misused or exploited, as I said before. So by these laws being rolled back, now children here in Arkansas, minors here in Arkansas, so if you're under 16, now you're able to work 8 hours a day with a maximum of 48 hours per week. So to me, that's a regular job. That there's, you're doing a regular job. And the way it works, on school days, you can only work a maximum of 8 hours a day on school days, and 48 hours a week. But on non-school days, you can work a total of 18 hours. So when I was reading about this and we were talking about this with my boss, we were talking about this. And the one thing that came in my mind is I looked at the bigger picture. I looked at a broader picture. So if you are allowing children, minors, to work, to meet full-time jobs, so now if you're working a full-time job, if you are on any type of assistance, whether it's SNAP, whether it's housing, remember they count the total income of your household. So now if you have, just say you have 2 children who are under the age of 16 and they're working 8 hours a day, and you have to count that money into your total household expense, your total household income, that's going to raise your household income. So now what they're going to say is that you have enough income coming in where now you don't deserve these services. So, of course, they put these work requirements on Medicaid, Medicare. They put these work requirements on PAN. They put all these work requirements on these services. So now they have the right to say, we don't have to provide this service for you. And also what you have to look at, we know that this country is getting older. So now you're trying to get children younger people into the workforce, which helps, because the children have to pay tax. Well, I think they can still be tax exempt. I think I have to look into that. I'm not going to say they will, but I have to look into that. But they may be tax exempt, but they may still have to pay the FICA and all these other things that you have to that when you work that they take out of your check. And so now, not only are you looking at that aspect? But as a 14, 15, 16-year-old school age child, you're trying to work 8 hours a day. You're trying to study. You're trying to do all this. That's hard. I remember being in college, working a full-time job and going to school. That's tough. But then, and so now you even look at it even more. Now you have children who are these school age children who are working. It's going to make them tired. It's going to make them more fatigued. And now when they get to school, they're not going to be fully present. They're not getting a good night's sleep because they're working, which makes their grades suffer. And if the grades suffer, now, you start looking at these schools who can say, well, what the Department of Education can look, well, you have failing students. And if you have failing students, and now you become a D or F school or a school district that D or F. Now, by this new Learns Act, you can actually have a charter school administration come in and run your district. And so it's a lot of dots to connect. We may look at things as an isolated incident or something that's isolated, but when you start connecting the dots all the way through, you come up with a bigger issue, a bigger problem. And I understand. This is something that's been a part of society. I think there's very few teenagers who didn't have. Well, I don't say very few. A lot of teenagers, a lot of us started out with a part-time job somewhere in the summer, or you had some type of even after-school job with extra money and everything. But now these jobs are being used to make sure, or to ensure that certain things are taken care of in the house. Especially when you live in a neighborhood, or you live in a place where the resources aren't there, or your parents aren't making a living wage, or whoever your caretaker is not making a living wage, and now basically you're being, forced in a way to go out and get a job to help support the household. So I just want to have a conversation this morning of how you, the listeners, feel about this. Do you think what's going on? How do you feel about how much it's going to hurt children? What's going to be the outcome, and what are some of the effects of it? And how it's going to disproportionately affect Black and brown children and Black and brown families? Denise?
I am listening to you make your case for them not having access to employment at such a young age, but I don't think that I stand with you, because I started working, I think, when I was about 16 years old, probably before that. I worked at Smith Wheel Stadium in Jackson, Mississippi, and I was the ice cream girl. Everybody wanted to get ice cream in a helmet, and they had all the different types of helmets, and you can get 2 scoops, 3 scoops, Neapolitan, whatever. And I worked there. And one of the reasons that I worked there was because my father made sure that we had access to transportation. So we all got cars by the time that we were able to drive, but we were responsible for the oil change. We were responsible for keeping gas in the car. And how are you going to do that? And my father believed that if you are responsible for something, you will take better care of it. So he was not going to just give us anything. We had to do our part. And as 16-year-olds, we couldn't pay the note. Actually, he bought the cars, but anyway, that's another story. But we didn't have a note, but we had to do something. And so having jobs allowed us to learn about responsibility, financial responsibility, to learn how to even share those stories with our friends who wanted to ride with us but didn't want to pay us gas money. You don't have gas money, you can't ride with us because we have to pay, because that's how it is in our home. It also allowed us to have something to do. Like, what else are you doing after school? Because a lot of times people, especially students in Black and brown neighborhoods, the only thing that the state makes possible for you to do is get in trouble and end up in jail. And so here's a place where you can go and you can learn skills, you can earn money, you can learn teamwork. So I'm not sure that this is a bad thing for us to expect children to be able to maintain their studies and have a job on the side.
So let me make myself perfectly clear, and maybe I didn't make it clear enough. I'm not advocating, or I'm not talking about not children not working. No, that's not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is the change in the laws where there were protections for children. Because yes, you know, there were, the old laws put restrictions and regulations on how many hours a child could work per week, how many hours a child could work, a minor could work per day. Plus, it put in some other regulations that, hey, at 14 years old or 15 years old, you don't need to be working in this type of environment. You don't need to be working in a hazardous place. You don't need to be working here. So anytime you start to loosen, as they say, the regulations, you start to broaden the regulations, open it up, it opens the door for exploitation. It opens the door for, employers to say, this child may say, well, that employer may know. So at 6 o'clock, you can only work to 6 o'clock p.m. And at 6 o'clock p.m., you have to clock out. Well, now that employer has and I'm not saying this with every employer, but you're going to have those employers who say, well, I know you're supposed to clock out at 6 o'clock, but do you want to work to 8? Yeah, I work to 8. And because of this loosening of the laws, now that's possible, where before you would have to say no, because you have to look out for that. You have to look out for the safety of that child. If you stayed at 8 o'clock, now you have to go home. You have to get home. You have to, whatever homework you have to do, you have to get that. You have to eat. You have to do all this, which puts you in the bed later. Now you got to get up in the morning and go to class.
And I'm saying, what's wrong with? Okay. So, okay, you got a caller. I want to ask another question, but you can go. I see the caller.
Caller, you on there?
Good morning, Sister Lee, Brother Tony, listening on and those on the web.
Morning, Ezekiel.
Give 2 cents to this conversation, because I worked at the time. I tell folks that I was a CNI dog. I was called before, maybe about 10 years old, taking a blind man downtown, Page Field. We would ride the bus, my arm so tight. I got a bruise on the hip, spit back, and I didn't know my hair was going to get curly. But I was hopeful to do this job. I think I got 25 cents. And then sometimes 50 cents. That means I could take whether or not to the store, cost a dime, and buy snacks or what have you. And at the movie show, and of course, I was going to put in church Sunday. I just took him, on a weekend. I was 10 years old. And then, of course, I worked at my grandparents' grocery store, taking inventory by hand and doing whatever deliveries that, the customers have us, because my boy a couple of eggs. But these eggs over some so-and-so's house, take this back and brown so-and-so's house. And I would also go to the items and things like that from St. John's Bakery. I could, the meats or what have you, get on the bus and take it to the school. To make a long story short, when Charles closed the schools, I didn't go to school. school that year, which would have been the first year in high school, in my grade, in 10th grade. And I went to work as a laborer, I'd say, more like a lumberjack, clearing land down and Wright Street up. There were children going from Little Rock to Wright to school. They passed on the buses and wait. And I got there, man, a couple more brothers of my age who out of school, didn't go to school when schools were closed. And we were working. Now, we were supposed to get paid what the grown folk got paid. It wasn't a job in an establishment. Where, you know, they had oversight, and they were saying she wasn't as concerned. But it was clear lane. We had to take bones out of our arm and hands. And I'm not complaining about it because a lot of things we do is not as easy as other things, but it was an experience. But we were exploited like Tom said. And I know a lot of the emphasis where young people were exploited. Now, when you're 14 years old, I don't think you have much to say with adults when things come to what you have to do in your work area. And that idea of safety, like when you're going these meat packing, they have adults who get injured and hurt. When you go around certain type of machinery, you have adults that get injured and hurt. I just think because of that idea, because when you're 14 years old, 15 is better, 16 is much better, but you have a degree of naivety, if you will, that is just unsurpassed. You might be working in a laundry and get your arm caught in an extractor back in the old days. You have to hit the brakes to get the extractors to, you know, stop you running the water out of clothes. Things like this. There's a lot of equipment that you have to be extremely careful around. And when you're a child, your parents are still responsible for you. The people that work for you only take so much responsibility. As a parent, I would not want my child to be working under certain conditions, regardless of that belongs to. That's almost like slavery, you know. I don't know if that's what the benefits would be for a child working, but it certainly could be the same as it was for an adult because children don't have any say so when it comes to, you know, what you can and cannot do with them. So it's a bad idea, I think. I've known folks to get away with it because when my daughter was 16, she was opening and closing her store on the mall, and that was against the law at that time, but she did it. Now, other daughter at 17 trained a fellow to come into the shoe store and take over his manager, even though she was the one that came in. And she was mad about it because she was 17. I told her, you're not old enough to be a manager because they have certain requirements and age is one of them. But she said, he doesn't know what to do. I had to teach him. I said, well, you'll pay off his loan. You'll get business that you can be proud of, and you won't have that experience. So I think it's a bad idea. I think it's child exploitation more so than just a better child working. And all those nuances that Tony mentioned, like doing away with food stamps, raising the threshold for income, if you will, to disqualify you. You know, I'm not going to say just take
Well, here's what Phyllis Brown has to say. President Joe Biden said during his annual Memorial Day speech, "Every year as a nation, we undertake this rite of remembrance, for we must never forget the price that was paid to protect our democracy." Protect our democracy. The threat doesn't come from an invasion from a foreign power. The threat comes from America's Congress, state governors, the Proud Boys, QAnon, and American citizens. Currently, America's debt ceiling affects investments and financial stability, which is being attacked by the Republican majority in Congress. Protect our democracy is a false alarm. People of color never had democracy in the United States. Democracy is um, threatened by America's politicians. And then she goes on to say that when you think about what's happening with the debt ceiling was approved by the Republican majority Congress. The cuts are devastating, including not funding the IRS, which prevents the IRS from pursuing the wealthy who hide their wealth covertly and kicks people off of SNAP. That's why Joe Biden's Memorial Day speech about democracy is false. So when we talk about these child labor laws, it correlates with that debt ceiling because it is the total in that the total earned income eliminates social services like SNAP and Medicaid. And I think that's what you were speaking to.
And so, like I said, I'm not speaking against child, minors working. I think it's a great thing. It is, it can produce a work ethic. It can produce discipline. It can do a lot of things. My thing is because you had these protections that stop, that would hinder, it didn't always, but it would hinder unscrupulous employers from exploiting child labor. Now that you're taking these away, it opens the door. And so I was watching this documentary about especially non-documented workers, who are working at farms or working to do harvest. And they were talking that, you had children out there, 10, 11, and 12. They weren't even going to school. They were out in these fields picking whatever, working, and they were interviewing these children, and so to me, that's part of it, because if we can allow undocumented workers to do this, why can't we allow our own kids to do this? Why can't we allow those who are considered American children, however you want to frame it, why can't they do it? Because part of this new law that was passed in Arkansas is now you don't have to get your parents' permission. It used to, that was one of the things that was set in place, that you get your parents' permission. So the parent, could go and look at the job. The parent could understand about this job you're doing. Now you don't need your parents' permission. So the only thing you need from your parent now is say, hey, I want to get a job. Okay. And then you go get this job. So that means that and we talked about this on Tuesday, with the young boy that got killed in Mississippi, Adarian Murray, when we said that he may have looked older than 11.
No, the cop thought he looked older than 11. He didn't look older than 11.
Okay. So now you have a 10 or 11 or a 12-year-old who walks into a store, can I get a job? And they said, how old are you? Well, I'm 15 or I'm 14. So, okay. And some of these employers, they're not going to check. They're not going to say, you need to bring me a birth certificate. You need to bring me an ID or anything. And so, okay, especially if it was a cash job. If they're going to pay me cash, I don't need all that. So now you run the risk of young children being exploited. And like I said, you start to connect the dots. And like Phyllis said, you start talking about how can we get, because the one thing that Republicans want is a cut in services. That's the biggest thing they want. They said too much money is being spent on services. And how do you cut services? When your income, household income start rising, then you are disqualified from a lot of services. Calling you on the air.
This seems to me a good reason to support unions and teach people about the benefits of unions. I know so many people who are wealthy, who are paying very little for slave labor. Shame on you. The same to the giant corporations. May people live long, healthy, beneficial lives on this planet and be justly compensated for all the work that they do in solidarity, love and peace to all.
Thanks, Sonia, and thank you for your note that you sent to us. I really appreciate your thoughtfulness. I want to say that, okay, now that I'm clear on what it is that you're talking about, Tony, I don't think that what Republicans want, or whoever this is that's supporting this, mainly Republicans, that they want to cut services per se. I think that they are still holding on to the system of enslavement, right? So cutting services might be the word or the phrase or the terminology that we use today to say what Sonia just said. We want slave labor. We want to get the most for the least, and we want to do it so that we can continue to maintain this system of power that we have, because we are so afraid, because we see the numbers, we see the projection, we see the progress that's on the horizon, that's already yet in the making, and we have got to maintain our footing. And so we are simply trying to figure out a way to put a new face, or to put lipstick on the pig of the system of enslavement, so that we can continue to remind you, as Black people in particular, that you are inferior to us, we are superior to you, and we have created this caste system in which you are on the bottom. Point blank, period. That's the message that we continue in this country to send, particularly Black people, that you will be our slaves.
Yeah, and so I agree with you, and it goes back to a word you just used, caste, and classism, because at the end of the day, and whether people agree with me or not, poor white people on the plantation too, they're sharecropping too, if you want to, even if you want to use that language. Yes, Black people are going to be at the bottom of that, but poor white people are there on this plantation working the fields also. And it's so hard for them to understand this, because it's so hard for them to understand this, that these laws that are these child labor laws, or whatever laws that are being created, the face of it is Black. But you're gonna, as Sullivan just said, you're gonna be collateral damage too. It's gonna bother, it's gonna affect you too. And the only thing you have to hang your hat on is the fact that somebody's telling you, well, because you're white, you're gonna be okay. But it's not, and so it's gonna affect everybody. But but I will agree, it's gonna affect Black and brown bodies more than white bodies.
Well, the white people that you're talking about are not going to be okay, but they're going to feel like they are okay, because as long as, even if I'm on the plantation, if I can serve in a capacity that's higher than you as the Black person, if I can have permission to dishonor and disrespect your body and dehumanize your body just because it's Black, I don't really care what's happening to me, because I feel better, I feel superior, I feel like I'm more important, I feel like my life matters more than yours. And so I'm going to be okay on this plantation as long as I have the right to disrespect and mistreat your body. And that's what this system continues to do, to give society the right to mistreat Black bodies.
Yeah, and so I agree with that, but also I look at it a little differently. Also, is that when poor white people, they're shocked a lot of times. They're shocked, that, hold up, you mean I can't get health care? You mean I'm getting kicked off this system, this service? You mean I can't have housing? You mean I can't have SNAP anymore? How come I can't have it? I don't care about you taking away from Black people, but why are you taking away from me? And that's when they realize, yeah, okay, yeah, I feel superior because I get a chance to disrespect you. But now I'm being disrespected. And I realize I'm being disrespected. And that's when this system will look at them, yeah, we're disrespecting you. Yeah, we're mistreating you. Yeah, you're not getting the service you want, but you're white. And so that, to me, that's the feel good thing where they can look in the mirror and say, well, I don't have anything, but I'm white. And so I think that's where the classism comes in.
Yeah, but I don't feel like, yeah, it is classism, and there's a distinct difference between racism and classism. And what I'm talking about is rooted in racism. And when you think about the white people who come to this realization because they begin to get kicked off of these services, what they don't realize, they might realize, yes, I'm being disrespected because I should not receive these services. And I'm not even sure that they see that as disrespect. But what they don't realize is that they are the same. You are the same as the Black person that's fighting. You're no different. Your
Right.
skin does not make you any different. Just like we are struggling for liberation, you too are struggling for
Right.
liberation. You just don't realize it. And so that to me is the problem, that you're saying, oh my goodness, I'm white, I'm not supposed to have this happen to me. They don't say this is happening to me because this system is inhumane to all of us, not just to Black folks. And until you get that, until you realize that you are one in the same with us, then you can't join the fight and you can't even free yourself.
Right, and that's the problem. You said it in a nutshell. That's the problem. Is getting it. We talked about this quite a bit. Is that these people in power that was voted in power, that poor white people are voting for. The majority of these poor white people are voting for these elected officials who really don't give a damn about it. And so what they're doing, they're making these laws, they're making these passing these different acts and bills, and then, like I said, they like, oh, I didn't know this was going to affect me. I thought this was for them. I thought all this was going to do, this new law is going to affect them. I know it's going to affect me. But what they keep doing is because they're being told that, yeah, but it's really not going to affect you the way you think because you're white. You're still better than them. You're still better than them. Even though you don't have nothing, even though you're in the same boat as them, you're different from them. And they keep voting against their best interests. And then what they want to do is blame them. They want to blame Black people. They want to blame other things when they're not looking at themselves and say, you know what, I'm to blame because I keep doing this same thing that's not even benefiting me.
Well, they keep doing the same thing because they don't understand the why behind their behavior. If you're going to change your behavior, you got to be able to name what is causing you to act the way that you are acting. You can't just say, oh my goodness, I keep choosing the same man over and over and over again. You got to say, what is it about me that makes me make this decision? And you got to do the work and ask the questions and do the research and get in conversation to figure out what's going on in you. And so I don't even think that these white people that you're referring to are saying, well, that if I vote for Trump, this is how it's gonna affect Black people. I don't think that's what they're saying at all. They're saying Trump is the symbol of my understanding of what it means to be white, to be nationalist, to be nationalist, to be racist, to be making America great again. And that's what I'm voting for. I'm continuing to vote for my race. That's the only issue that's on my mind. And you got other people, and Black people are included, that vote for one issue too. If you are against abortion, then I'm gonna vote for you. If you are pro-choice, then I'm gonna vote for you. So whatever the issue is, rather than think about how does this affect us as humans? How does this allow us to live together and interact and as the interconnected people that we are? Instead of asking those questions, all I want you to do is agree with me on this issue that I think is most important. And for these people, it's whiteness, and that's why I vote. The last thing they're thinking about is what's going to happen to a Black person if they lose their SNAP benefits.
And then it goes even farther when you start thinking about all these different laws that are being passed now about banning books, about CRT. Whenever our Governor Sanders speaks, she uses one phrase all the time: indoctrination. Indoctrination. We don't want to be indoctrinated by the left, and it's okay if you're indoctrinated by the right. It's okay if you're indoctrinated by our conservatism. It's okay if you're indoctrinated by our religious belief. It's okay if you're indoctrinated by that. But we don't want to have you indoctrinated or have you taught anything about freedom. We don't about your history, about the real history. We don't want that because, like you said, Denise, once you start researching and realizing, finding out the answers to more questions, then you can name it. Like, okay, I see now, I realize now what I need to fight for, what it is I'm feeling, and what it is, I get a better idea of what I should be doing, what I should be doing.
But more importantly, it gives me a sense of understanding about me and about my role in society. And so that's where, when you don't have that, when you're trying to whitewash that, you're trying to hide that, it affects everybody. Because if you can get white people to admit and to see and to name, then that's how humanity starts to change. Because now I can see my complicity, I can see what I've been doing, I can see my thought process, and if I want to call myself human, then I need to change it. But until I see it, I can't change it.
There's no argument with me on that. But here's the thing. If you are going to do the work, if you're going to be the type of leader that does the work of bringing raising to the level of consciousness for white people who do not yet understand that they are interconnected with Black folks, if you're going to do that work, then that means that you become a target. And that means that you are going to have to figure out how to sustain yourself beyond this system. And I think many of us as Black people who want to do the work, I'm not talking about white people who want to do the work, because there are those, but many times those of us who are Black, we can't do the work because we are so embedded in the system that if we start unifying, like Dr. King, what happens? You're going to be on the list like Malcolm X. You're going to be on the list like Angela Davis. You're going to be on the list, and they're going to come for your life. So what are we doing as Black people to make ourselves independent enough so that our voices are not silenced because of the systems that we are entangled in? How can we untangle ourselves so that I'm not concerned about this house, I'm not concerned about this job, I'm not concerned about this kind of car, I'm concerned about freedom. And I'm going to figure out how to go over here. I think it might have been Ezekiel telling us about how to make, somebody was making some money. There was a way he was offering to help people make some money. Let's do that with our 16-year-olds. Instead of allowing them to be employed by these systems that we know are coming from them in this way of relaxing these child labor laws, how do we teach them to be independent even now as 16-year-olds so that their voices can be amplified, so that they're not worried that I might lose my job?
And that's a good point, Denise, because what happens is the younger you get indoctrinated into this system of work, this system of money, or thinking that, I got to work to get I don't know if you ever heard people say, "Oh, I got to get out there and work to get somewhere to do anything. I got to work. I got to make this money. I got to get up and make this and make this money." And so you get caught up. And let's face it, one of the things that white inhumanity has done, it has figured out that a lot of Black people are so they're so entangled with money. I was watching Zootopia, which has become one of my favorite movies now, and there was this scene where they had one of the characters that they were asking him, they were threatening threatening his life and everything, and he said that they gave me an offer I couldn't refuse. Money. They offered me money. And so what happens is that the system understands that if I can get a Black person entangled in money and working for money, so now they're working and they're making this money, and they feel that as long as I make this money, I can move up. As long as I make this money, I can have things. As long as I make this money. And so now going back to what I was talking about with the loosening of the child labor laws. So now you got these children, you got these 14, 15, 16-year-olds working. And now they're starting to buy clothes. And, now they're starting to be able to get them a car. And now, school don't become that important to them because I'm making money. I'm not looking at how I can take my education, I can save this money and go to college free, or other things like that. They're looking at, I'm making this money. I'm making this money. And now when they graduate, say, you know what? I've been working at this job for 4 or 5 years. Now I'm making a little bit more money. You know what? I can stay here, I can work here, or let me go find me another job. And so now all it's about is making this money, trying to get these things, because now things become important. And that's the one thing, those are things that the system has figured out about a lot of Blacks. And so I agree with you on this one point. When are we as Black people are going to start looking at our children and say, hold up, you don't have to be tied to the system. You don't have to be tied to a clock. You don't have to be tied. You can move away. But in that also, as the parent, we have to have the same idea.
Because that's what I was about to say, that the children are going to look at you and say, I can't, what is the phrase you use?
I can't hear what you're saying about watching what
And
you're
so here's an opportunity for Black people in particular to do our own interrogation of ourselves. Why are we so concerned about money? And many of us are so concerned about money because we grew up, either grew up in poverty, or we grew up poverty adjacent, or we grew up in situations where we wished we had more money because we're looking at the world through the lens of the media, how they are feeding to us what money will do for your life. And we are not looking, and so we haven't examined the impact of that poverty on our lives. We haven't examined the impact of that poverty on our children and the children's lives. And we have not examined the impact of that poverty on how we parent. And so many of our children cannot learn the lessons because the parents are not teaching them, because the parents will not take inventory of their own selves. And why won't the parents do it? Because you've been taught you don't need therapy. You've been taught you don't have, like, all of this stuff that the system continues to teach us that we buy into and we are complicit in. That's what we've got to figure out, because just like we want white people to see themselves, Black folks, we got to see ourselves too and begin to divest. That's the only way we're going to get free.
Hey, you're right. So great conversation this morning. We're going to have to pick this back up. I don't know if we're going to pick it back up Tuesday. I know we'll pick it back up next Thursday, on the workplace. But it's something that we all have to think about, and not just, Black people, but white people as a whole too. This society as a whole, we have to start thinking about things in terms of humanity and not just race. I don't know, that might be a pipe dream, that, I might be naive, but that's something that has to happen, because if you can understand the humanity of all of us, then your society, then as a society, we can start to do better, treat people better, and live better. Hey, thank you for tuning in today. Tune in Monday from 4 to 5 for Down with Debt with me and Neil. Next Tuesday for Community Voices with Denise and me next Thursday for the workplace with me and Denise. Don't forget Domino's in the Park starting at 5 o'clock tomorrow, 5 p.m. at Petaway Park on 21st Street between Rock and Bragg. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Between Rock and Park.
Rock and Park. I don't know why I want to keep saying Bragg. Rock and Park. So enjoy the rest of your day. Appreciate you listening in today. And any last words?
No, I don't.
I have a
Well, yes, I do. I haven't said this in a while. If we are going to realize a world that is more just, more equitable, more inclusive, and more peaceful, we have got to learn how to live and love differently.
okay. See y'all later.